What is up, everybody? It is Frosenzu back here with a review. I was gonna say reaction, but that wouldn't be quite accurate because this isn't really a review. Anyway, so yeah, we just finished watching the movie, and I have to give this movie out of 10. I'd probably say like a solid. Uh, I probably have to give this movie, for me, maybe like a 9 out of 10, and then maybe not 9 out of 10, maybe like I don't want to say 8.5. It's above an 8.5. I don't want to give it a 9 out of 10. But I'll give it like an 8 point, maybe like an 8.7 out of 10, because I feel like it's above an 8.5, but I don't feel like it's a 10 or even a 9. But it was still quite good in my opinion. Very good, actually. It was very entertaining, very fun, a lot of emotion. It was definitely an emotional roller coaster. We got to see the friends, the squad, pitted up against each other. Not all the squad, but the main ones. Like we have Kilala, we have Kagome pitted up against InuYasha. We had a lot of internal conflicts, a lot of progression in terms of the characters. We've made progress in terms of not just the characters, but even what we know as viewers. We've become acquainted with, I forgot what they call it. I think it's the tree of. I'll call it the tree of life. I think it's the tree of age. I'm not quite sure. It's along those lines, but yeah, we got acquainted with that too, and that's like very important, vital information that we need because, well, it's important information because we need to know how she's able to get to Inuyasha's world. It's definitely a factor that needs to be explained, and they explained it. And not only did they explain it, but they even gave depth to that location. Not just the characters, but the location itself that gave birth to this whole situation that's going on between the whole gang. And I enjoy that. I really enjoy how even the locations itself have depth to them. The villain was a bit, I feel like, a bit cliche. I do feel like he was a bit cliche, but at the same time, I mean, it's what are you really expecting? He was a cliche villain. He wasn't like a very deep villain. They didn't really give him much depth when he died. I feel like he did die a bit in a bit of an anticlimactic way. It was kind of like, okay, we're just done with that situation. But we've also seen this kind of execution play out with the guy who was the rival of Inuyasha's father. For some reason, I feel like when it comes to Inuyasha villains, sometimes they just kind of die. They just die. We don't really, we know why they die, but there isn't much exposure really given to them. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they have crazy deep backstories and whatnot. Naraku, I would say, would be the exception. He's the main villain. We shouldn't really expect any less depth being given to Naraku of all people in Inuyasha the story. I'm a little not worried, but I'm a little bit disappointed. I feel like they should have shown Naraku. It would be interesting to see Naraku being involved in this movie. But if Naraku was involved, he likely would try to manipulate that villain. He would likely try to manipulate him, and if he tries to manipulate him, I do feel like it would create little conflicts that wouldn't help the plot move along. But it still would have been interesting to see him involved in that. Not only that, but it was awesome to see even just a little bit of interaction between Sesshomaru and Kikyo. Again, certain interactions I do feel like they could have really went further with, which they didn't do. Kikyo and Sesshomaru even didn't really do much in this movie. I feel like they could have done a lot more. Kikyo, again, literally didn't do squat. She just kind of got some soul sucked out of her, and that was really about it. That's like as far as her interaction goes in this movie. And she also told Kagome to go back home and kind of raise the conflict, but never really solved it on her own terms. She didn't really do much. She was just in here, which does feel a little bit weird. Like they could have, again, just feel like they could have made her do more. Sesshomaru himself didn't do much. He just handled his own stuff. I feel like their purpose in the movie isn't really necessary, if you will. They're just kind of there. Like I feel like they just put them in because they were like, What are the fans gonna eat up? We're just gonna put Sesshomaru in here because he's probably the most popular character in the series. So that's what we're gonna do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like seeing Sesshomaru. I'm not complaining, but they just could have done more. They just could have done more with him. And that's one of the few negatives I feel like within this movie that do stop it from being a 10 out of 10 for me. In fact, even stop it from being a 9 out of 10 for me. It was still good. I'm not hating on the movie. Do keep that in mind as a whole. But there are certain problems I feel like that they didn't really, not problems that they didn't address, but there's certain problems that they could have really done better. What's some other things I could talk about? You could even see me in my reflection. I don't know if you guys can see me in my reflection. You see me? What's some other things I could talk about? It was cool to see some. It was cool to see some other cute interactions between Sango and Moroku, which they somehow found. What I really like about this movie, though, is that they did, despite them not showing Sesshomaru and despite them not showing much of Kikyo as I wish they would have showed, they certainly did give exposure to the characters and had character interactions that we don't really always typically see. Again, like they only recently started to hammer down on Sango being shipped with Moroku. Only recently, but they're starting to expand on that, and I'm thankful for that because I don't want it to just happen at the end of the anime. And then they're like, "Oh well, Sango and Moroku have a kid now." Oh, but you didn't see that coming. Like I don't want them to do that because that would kind of it would just be very weird, and I just don't feel like it would be a good plot writing move. It just wouldn't help the story out that much at all. And so I'm thankful that they're avoiding that and they're giving exposure, which they were not doing that to begin with. But that's one of the negatives about the series. But they're handling it nonetheless, and it keeps it from becoming a bigger problem. Though I do ship right now as it is, I do ship Sango and Moroku very much. So Moroku's kind of taking a little bit of a break from the whole giggity thing. I feel like he's becoming less of a giggity man. He's starting to focus more on Sango, and I'm thankful for that as well. Although I'm sure it's just a part of his character, they're not gonna fully, delete that off of his trait list. Um, the next thing I was going to mention here was it does also make sense why they wouldn't have Sesshomaru do much in the movie, because if they had Sesshomaru involved, that would likely raise some issues. What I mean by that is, if Sesshomaru is involved in the movie, that likely means that the situation would become a lot less high stake. I feel like they have to drag out the movie a bit. And if Sesshomaru's involved, it's gonna load on the time. Now, Sesshomaru being the only one involved, I don't feel like Sesshomaru would have been able to handle that situation on his own. If Sesshomaru was involved here, I do feel like there would have been some problems, because I just don't feel like he would have been able to have the firepower that InuYasha had. And firepower, I do feel like, was one of the main requirements that was necessary within that fight. He has more skills than InuYasha, and I feel like he's stronger than InuYasha on a typical basis. But if we're talking about InuYasha being motivated, I do feel like if InuYasha is truly motivated, as it is right now, maybe not in the future, but right now as it is, if he's truly motivated, I do feel like he could beat Sesshomaru. If not only motivated, but he has his friends backing him up. Maybe just motivated InuYasha, no, but motivated InuYasha, along with his friends, all teaming up against Sesshomaru. I do feel like Sesshomaru could potentially be overpowered. Um, but yeah, as I was saying before too, he would have still made the situation considerably easier, and they don't really want that to happen. Although it would have been an interesting we did see how quickly he just like bitch slapped the both of those girls. You know what I'm talking about, those girls. And then we see we just goes to show the difference between Sesshomaru and the rest of the crew, like Moroku and Sango, because boy, like, Morocco and Sango, like they fought against those girls and they got their shit handed to them. It took a lot out of their abilities to really fully handle the enemies who they were facing. Uh, Sesshomaru just handled them like one, two, get out my face. The official thought slayer himself. Uh, yeah, he slayed those thoughts like they were nothing, man. So it just shows the difference in power between Sesshomaru and the rest of the crew. Even to InuYasha, I know he's stronger, but yeah, I'm just saying. I feel like in this story, strength, like original strength and your power, doesn't really matter as much as the plot does. Now, what I mean by that is that the power scaling, and I keep saying this, is very iffy, and yeah, it raises some confusing things to where it makes it unpredictable. You can't really tell who's fully stronger than the other, and you know who's stronger than the other person. Like, we know for a fact that guy was a lot stronger than InuYasha, yet InuYasha killed him. But that brings me back to the main point. A lot of the power in this series is based upon just the plot itself. And this movie definitely encapsulates that as well. Um, the girls really did get karma though, especially that girl who stole Moroku's power. When her power like just backfired on her, I was like, yeah, boy, I'm happy about that. But I knew it was gonna happen. I knew her power was gonna. I knew, well, not her power, but Moroku's power was gonna backfire on her. Because I was like, she's using this too much. Something is gonna go wrong here. And I didn't see Sesshomaru's coming in to save Moroku at the time either. So I was like, Moroku's not gonna die. Somehow this situation is gonna be relieved. And just like a split second, or not, maybe like a couple seconds actually, before she actually got killed by Moroku's own weapon, it happened. it did happen. Um, Although I'm not sure how she was able to expand the hole. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you guys could explain that to me in the comment section. I apologize if that was like obvious and I just didn't catch it. I apologize for that. Something else in this movie that I could address is Kaede. Kaede pulled a big power move in this movie too when she was protecting the village. We don't really see Kaede show off her skills that often, but they definitely showed how powerful she was by protecting the village. It's awesome to see how she's able to adequately take over the role of her sister despite her old age. And Kaede was probably even stronger in her younger years, I would imagine. But it also does depend, maybe physically, but maybe not spiritually. Maybe because I'll think with age comes better spirituality, although worse physicality. So I wouldn't know. It really does depend. It really just depend as to whether she was stronger in her younger days or older days. We did get some more competition between Kikyo and Kagome. We definitely did get that. The animation was, whew, it was beautiful. It really was beautiful. Wow. Yeah. It was definitely beautiful. The just so fluent it was at times. Well, that's the next thing too. It was beautiful. But I'm gonna take back so I'm gonna give a little okay, because listen, the animation was good, but at the same time it was a bit bipolar. At times it was phenomenal, and then at certain times the CGI came in and it was like, ugh, it's like old time CGI, which was just coming out probably. at least with anime, at least. Maybe not other movies, but at least for anime, it was just coming out probably, I would imagine. I don't know. I'm not that adept in anime like that. So you guys could of course correct me if I'm wrong about anything. I always say that, but yeah. With the CGI effects, it was a bit at times, I don't want to say unbearable, but they could have done better. It was definitely a oof at times. And I don't just mean like once or twice in the movie. I mean like 3 or 4 or 5 times in the movie. The CGI was just kind of, And then at other times in the movie, it kind of looked as if the art took a couple dips down. There were certain moments in the movie where the art was just a little bit like one eye was bigger than the other on Kagome or whatnot. There were certain art moments where, yeah, they just could have done that better. But for the majority of the movie and the majority of the scenes that were important to the movie, not so much scenes that were not important. Certain scenes that were important to the movie certainly were very well handled, very well animated. In fact, not just very well animated, they were beautifully animated. And I'm sure for the time that this was animated, this was probably like right in the same ballpark as like Cowboy Bebop and whatnot, which is one of my favorite animes of all time, by the way. It's in my like probably like in my top five, maybe even top six, probably top six, maybe not top five, it might be six. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely the animation was still good when it mattered, and that's the important thing. So overall, I could say the animation out of 10, I'd probably give it like a solid 8. It was pretty good animation, I feel like. As for, I mean like an 8 with 10 out of 10 moments, but it also had a couple, like 4 out of 10 moments, I feel like, with the CGI. Now, also the art on top of that. And art is, in my opinion, still involved with animation or fluidity of movement. It's still involved in that too. What else in this movie here was interesting? I mean, everything about it was really interesting. But I'm trying to see what else I can really mention here that's worth mentioning. Yeah, so Stromer could have done more. Kiko could have done more. The animation was beautiful as heck. Beautiful as heck. The villain was a bit bland. He was a bit bland, but he was very intriguing still. He was very fun to watch. It was fun to watch his demise, and it was also fun to watch his come up. He was bland, but as I said before, he was also interesting. Just because an anime doesn't really have a very complex villain, doesn't mean that the villain is garbage. I do feel like he was still a very fun villain to watch. Hisoka himself. Well, Hisoka is, in my opinion, from Hunter x Hunter, is a complex villain, so that wouldn't be a good example. He is complex in his own way. He's simple and complex. But this villain here was definitely simple. He was kind of cliche, but again, very fun to watch. He was certainly a threat. In this movie, I knew they were going to live. But the reason why I know is because this isn't like it's coming out on a weekly basis. So I know for a fact that certain characters are going to live through the situations that they're encountering and throughout this movie. And that of course diminishes the effect of certain threats. Even if one of the characters dies, I know for a fact that they're going to come back to life somehow. I know that. The main characters, not the side characters, but the main ones. I know they're going to come back to life regardless of what I'm talking about. So Stromaru, Rin, Jaken, InuYasha, Kagome, Sango, Moroku, Yoga, Shippo, Kilala, even that other guy who works underneath Moroku. Now, of course, out of all those characters, Kikyo plays Kikyo, of course, I know is going to die, and she's more important than a lot of those characters that I just mentioned. But at the same time, you know, it's still, I feel like there's like a certain, not just, it doesn't just come down to a level of importance. It's hard to really explain, but yeah. Anyway, moving past that point, that was kind of why I didn't really feel much of a threat throughout the movie. But that isn't to take away the fact that there still was a visible threat. The villain certainly was a threat. Yes, the power of friendship did kill the villain, but it took a lot of it, and InuYasha got messed up. truly InuYasha had a battle, and that isn't something that I can say about every villain in InuYasha. Sometimes they hype up the villains in InuYasha sometimes, and InuYasha just kind of bitch slaps them across the map. Like he just kills them like it's nothing. This villain, it took a lot to kill him. Now of course InuYasha escaped unscathed around near the end. Of course, I do feel like they could have done that better. But again, up until the ending, he's had quite a hard time killing off the villain. A part of me does wish that he had a bit harder of a time at the end, not the beginning, but at the end, and he would have got a little bit more scars from the match. But it's okay either way. The threat was still felt. I knew Kikyo was not going to die because there's no way would they kill her in the movie before before the anime or before the last movie, whatever. So I'm not sure when they'll kill Kikyo, but I know that they will do it eventually. And I know for a fact they're not going to do it in the first movie or the second movie or even the third movie, depending on how many movies there are. But I'm sure there's more than 3, I think. I'm not quite sure. If there is, though, I'm happy about that because then I get to see InuYasha longer. And I'm really enjoying this show, like, a lot. So I'm happy if there's more movies out there anyway. I guess that kind of wraps up everything. This movie was it was very simplistic, but it was still fun to watch and very high quality. It was certainly high quality. Um, I guess that kind of ends the review of here. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys enjoy the video, please leave a like or leave a dislike. I do appreciate honesty, so even if you do leave a dislike, I'm happy. I'm cool with that. In fact, if you didn't like the video, I don't want you to like the video. I'm still gonna love you. I'm not gonna hate you. It ain't gonna be like, oh, you leave a dislike on my video, fuck you. Like, no, I appreciate honest feedback. So if there's anything you don't like, tell me, and I'll try to work on it. If I can't immediately fix it, I'll try to fix it in the future. Certain things I can, of course, fix, like camera quality, sound, and whatnot. But if there's opinions that I missed, certain scenes that I missed that I maybe wasn't paying attention to, or that you think I wasn't paying attention to, you could draw it out to me. All of that. I welcome constructive criticism, and I also welcome compliments as well. If you feel like I'm doing something right, you guys could tell me. I'm cool with anything. If you guys want to engage in discussions in the comment section with me, I'm cool with that too. I love talking to you guys. You guys are all awesome. In the future, of course, I plan to have more interactions with you guys. But yeah, I guess that kind of wraps up everything. Once again, if you liked the video, please leave a like or leave a dislike. It would be much appreciated. Go follow me on my social media. My channel can be deleted at any moment. So go follow me on my second channel. Go follow me on my Instagram. Go follow me on Facebook. I have 2 Facebooks because one of my Facebooks was disabled for like 3 days, and I made a second one. So do keep that in mind that my Facebooks could get deleted at any moment too. In fact, they're more likely to get deleted than my YouTube channel because I'm not uploading the reactions directly to the YouTube channel. So yeah, and do tell me if as people have complained that the link to Facebook isn't working. So if the links aren't working, tell me in the comment section below, and I'll try to see what I can do to remedy that. But yeah, as always, the link will be down in the description below, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Take it easy, peace out, and stay awesome.
So, until we meet again, stay gold.